If you've been told you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, heart disease, or you're borderline watching your numbers, listen closely. This is Dr. Ernst. What if I told you your heart isn't failing? Your body's simply adapting. For decades, we've been taught to fear cholesterol, avoid fat, and trust medications to save our heart. Yet heart disease is still the #1 killer in the United States. Obviously, it's not working. On Saturday, February 7th at 10 a.m., I'm hosting a live masterclass where I will show you how heart disease actually develops functionally and how to heal your heart naturally at home by fixing the root causes: leaky gut, toxicity, spinal subluxations. Plus, when you register and attend, you'll receive my newest Heart Heal Thyself ebook, which reveals the foods that are silently damaging your heart and gives you the exact swaps you need to do to protect it for free. To reserve your spot, text the word HEART plus your name and email to 704-906-2094. Text the word HEART to 704-906-2094. Good afternoon. Happy Saturday. We're coming at you with a very special live stream only broadcast. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. This is the Ask Dr. Ernst show, the show where pounds are shed, disease is dead, and where you get to be set free from your health problems. Today, we have a very interesting topic. Guys, I have been reading the book, The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teicholz, Why Butter, Meat, Cheese Belong in a Heart-Healthy Diet. And it actually sparked my idea of taking the misconceptions that we have about heart-healthy diet and really talk about the big three, guys, how your heart loves butter. Truly, really good healthy fats are good for your heart. Why red meats don't cause heart disease if they're in their natural healthy states. You can actually have red meats and steaks and have a good healthy heart. And you've heard the misconception, right? How salt causes high blood pressure, which can cause heart disease. You're going to learn in today's show that these dietary myths have been shoved down your throat so intensely that most people who have cardiovascular disease, taking medications following the American Heart Association diets, are told to avoid butter and fat, avoid red meats, go vegan for heart health, and avoid salts. And so today's show is going to break the decades of mistruths, misconceptions. Butter, red meat, salt, they've been placed on a heart health nutritional blacklist. They've been labeled as artery clogging, blood pressure raising, heart destroying villains. And I'm imagining that you and even people you know were taught that these foods quietly damage your cardiovascular system and that the safest path to heart health is to avoid butter and fats and don't eat red meats and stay away from salts and use all the heart healthy substitutes. You know what I'm talking about? Vegetable oil, canola oil. Don't you dare eat real healthy fats. Let's go with the fake, plant-based meat substitutes. Oh, meats are going to kill you, so we'll make meat out of plants. Or go vegetarian, stay away from red meats. And of course, you've been told that white table salts, which there is truth behind this. There's certain salts you need to avoid. Here's the problem. People have been following these dietary advices of the American Heart Association for decades, and heart disease has not improved. In fact, it's accelerated. So today, we're not asking whether butter, red meat, and salt can be associated with heart disease. We're asking a deeper question: why did we become so inundated and ingrained with the belief that these foods cause heart disease in the first place? Where did we go wrong? If you want a deeper dive, man, this book is amazing. The Big Fat Surprise, Nina Teicholz. It's great. Obviously, it's a big book. 90% of this is mostly just research. So like the entire bibliography starts basically on page, what is this, like 300? So from page 300 to page 468, it's nothing but research backing the claims of the idea that you've been told a lie when it comes to the foods you should eat for good heart health. And since we're finishing up our series on cardiovascular disease from a functional perspective, I wanted today's show to be this: your heart loves butter. Praise God, your heart loves red meats when they're in the right states, which we'll talk about, and it likes the right kinds of salts. Because when you strip away all of the mantra and the propaganda and the headlines, and you look at the physiological nature of what's been going on in dieting, industrial farming, inflammatory animal feeding processes, synthetic processing, the real drivers of cardiovascular disease will start to emerge. It's the way these foods are raised and prepared and processed, not them themselves. Where grass-fed butter and grass-finished red meats and real mineral salts exist, you will find they don't behave as enemies. I'm here to tell you, they can actually be supportive for your heart. And if you're looking for, again, some assistance, I not only have my Heart Disease Heal Thyself ebook, which you can get now for free. Above or below this video is a link to join me next Saturday, February 7th. It's the Heart Heal Thyself Summit. It's an online masterclass that I'm hosting. And listen to this. There are nearly 2,000 people already registered to attend this. Obviously, we've ruffled some feathers, and there's a need. There's a massive need because the number one issue people face with health today is cardiovascular. Blood pressure, cholesterol, palpitations, arrhythmias, you name it, something with your heart health. Can you start digging and find books like The Big Fat Surprise? Yes. Can you start educating yourself? Yes. But guys, this masterclass is going to teach you how to hit the ground running now so you can become your own doctor and heal yourself. Above the video or below, based on the channel you're watching, is how you get registered for the event. So let's begin with butter, right? People have been fearing fats, not just butter, but fat, because they were told that if you eat saturated fats, you will have heart disease. And this fear took root during a time when nutrition science was mostly focused on looking at cholesterol numbers. And they were widely and largely ignoring the nature of inflammation and insulin resistance, how sugar connects to cardiovascular disease, gut health. Man, they just back in the 40s and 50s, we weren't even talking about leaky gut and dysbiosis. And better yet, not even discussing food quality. Butter became a convenient symbol. I will call it like a visible, tangible fat that we could blame for heart disease. Same thing with cooking fats like lard and everything your great-grandparents or your grandparents used to use. Early studies noticed that populations that consumed high amounts of saturated fats had higher amounts of heart disease. But those same populations of people and cultures were also smoking and eating a lot of sugar and using refined flours and cooking with early versions of industrial oils. Butter didn't exist in isolation, but it was singled out as like butter and lard causing elevations in cholesterol. What rarely entered the conversation is the idea of where the butter came from. It's not just fat. It's a product, of course, that is released through dairy and milk. We have to take the fat out of milk and then churn it and turn it into butter. And what we now know is that corn-fed dairy is a metabolically stressed out product. The animal itself is fed a diet it was never designed to eat. When cows eat corn and food additives, things that are given to them outside of just hay and grass, their fatty acid composition changes. We know that omega-6 fatty acids are highly inflammatory and that there has to be a balance between omega-3 and 9 and 6. Butter that is made from milk that comes from corn-fed sources is extremely high in pro-inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids and very low in cardiovascular protective compounds. So yes, here's the kicker. Corn-fed butter contributes to inflammation. And as you've learned over the last 3 weeks, inflammation is the primary source of cardiovascular stress. But where we made this big mistake is assuming that all butter behaves the same way. All fats behave the same way. If it's saturated fat, it's going to cause heart disease. Well, there's a difference. There are plant versions of saturated fats There are corn-fed versions of saturated fats. There are grass-fed versions of saturated fats that come in animal sources. When cows are pasture-raised and fed grass their entire life, the fats that are found in that dairy that turns into that butter is extremely healthy, high in omega-3 fatty acids, high in something called conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA. These are fats that actually have been studied for their role in modulating inflammation and supporting very healthy cardiovascular function. Conjugated linoleic acid in your heart, they love each other. And guess where you find it? Grass-fed butter. Grass-fed butter also contains something called butyric acid, which is a short-chain fatty acid that plays an extremely powerful role in reducing inflammation in your heart, and it also strengthens the integrity of your gut barrier. We talked a couple weeks ago how leaky gut is a known trigger and an irritant to cardiovascular disease. This matters because chronic inflammation, which often originates in the gut, is one of the earliest detectable steps in cardiovascular disease. So before the plaque and before the high blood pressure, before the palpitations and arrhythmias, we often see that there's digestive distressors and leaky gut. So can butter and the butyric acids in it help to seal and heal the inflammation in the intestines? Yes. So remember, heart disease doesn't begin with butter. It begins with chronic inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. When we eat corn-fed, white table salt salted butter, yes, it's going to drive up inflammation. So they had it somewhat right. You should avoid corn-fed, white table salted butter. But that doesn't mean you can't have grass-fed, Himalayan salted butter, high in conjugated linoleic acid, high in butyric acid, and very nourishing for your gut and for your heart. So when people say that butter causes heart disease, what they're describing is actually the effect, ready, of industrially produced butter. Most of the butter you find out in your shopping markets is unhealthy. It comes from animals that are highly processed, eating foods they shouldn't, and produced in a way that negates the fact that grass-fed, grass-finished butter doesn't behave that way in the human body. So the nature of where it comes from is the context of everything, especially with your fats. Healthy plant-based fats that are saturated. We have coconut, we have avocado, we have olive. They are very healthy and healing for the human body. So this idea that high-fat diet causes heart disease, yeah, it's been written about to the nth degree. 400 pages of information on the idea that, nope, butter is actually good for your heart. And also that red meats are good for your heart. So let's shift into concept number 2. Why is red meat blamed for heart disease? Why is it that grass-finished steaks can actually tell a very different story for your heart health? Well, it starts off with this idea that red meat became labeled as a heart disease villain through what would be considered, in my opinion, flawed logic. Studies originally associated between meat consumption and cardiovascular risk failed again to look at what was the source of that kind of meat. Was it corn-fed or was it grass-fed? Grain-fed meats tend to have, again, just like butter, high levels of inflammatory fats. The omega-6 fatty acid ratio of a grain-fed cow is 40 to 50 times higher than that of a grass-fed and grass-finished cow. And again, I'm pulling data out of the books and the research. Fast food burgers, deli meats, hot dogs, factory-raised beefs, all of these were grouped together and made a simple conclusion that red meat causes heart disease. But what, again, they didn't understand was that, yes, if it's corn-fed, industrially raised, then it can increase inflammation. So what we learned is you can't just blame butter and fat and meat. You have to blame the inflammation caused by them. Red meat from a corn-fed, industrially raised animal is not nutritionally equivalent to that you find in grass-finished animals that are raised on pastures, eating naturally the foods they were designed to eat. Corn-fed beef, as we mentioned, higher omega-6 fatty acid ratio, much lower omega-3s, and very few protective compounds that we find in grass-finished meats. The inflammatory profile can worsen oxidative stress in your body. So when you eat corn-fed red meat, you increase inflammation, which causes oxidative stress, which can damage and disrupt the endothelial lining of your hearts. And guess what? That can lead to what the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies and big government says in regards to red meat and heart disease. But we were never given the option that, hey, it's not the actual red meat itself. It's the way it was raised and processed and produced. Grass-finished red meat has a completely different nutrient profile. It is very high in omega-3 fatty acids. Conjugated linoleic acid, again, very, very high. Zinc, iron, vitamin B12, carnitine. All of these are nutrients that you need for oxygen delivery, mitochondrial energy production, and even heart muscle function. Your heart isn't some sort of passive organ. It is an energy-demanding muscle. Every heart cell relies on fat metabolism for fuel. If you don't understand this, carnitine, which is an abundant amino acid found in red meats, is crucial for moving fatty acids into the mitochondria where they are turned into energy. And large studies and reviews have found that there is no causal relationship between grass-fed, unprocessed red meats and heart disease when lifestyle factors are controlled. The strongest contributor appears to be if they are processed red meats, not just red meat in general, but if it is a corn-fed, hormone-fed, vaccinated animal, and you eat that red meat, you will cause inflammation within your body, and that can spur and lead to cardiovascular disarray. Red meat wasn't the villain outright, just the red meats. It was industrialized meats. When you remove inflammatory foods from the animals themselves and you get rid of chemicalization, look, right now, antibiotic usage, vaccination of animals, it's a big thing and it makes them unwell. And then we eat that food and it gets into us and it makes us unwell. Red meat has become this idea that most people think, oh my gosh, I should avoid it like the plague if I want my heart to be healthy. But in reality, your heart loves grass-fed, grass-finished red meats, high in conjugated linoleic acid, high in carnitine, high in B12, high in omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce inflammation and can actually be used for cardiovascular support and health. So can we have a grass-fed steak seared and cooked in grass-fed butter? Yes, and it can be really good and healthy for your heart. And again, don't just listen to me. Get this book, guys, The Big Fat Surprise. Nina Teicholz. I'm telling you, the amount of research in here just shocks me. Her notes on articles that back every claim starts on page 341 and ends on page 477. There is immense amount of research backing the claims that, again, butter, meat, and even healthy fats should be found in a heart-healthy diet. Again, it just blows my mind that so many of us still think, and we're trained, high cholesterol. We talked about that last week, right? Blood pressure. Oh my gosh. What can I do? We talked about that the week before. The foods I'm supposed to eat. Right now, I'm letting you know. Good, healthy fats, grass-finished steaks, even healthy salts are good for your cardiovascular system. But wait a minute, Dr. Ernst. I'm confused. I thought salt was going to cause high blood pressure, sodium retention, and I should avoid salt like the plague. Well, salt became the enemy of heart health because it fell into a very simple narrative. Yes, white table salt, synthetic table salts, does raise blood pressure, and blood pressure can cause heart disease. So it was this easy, simple thing to put out. If you have a lot of salt in your diet, you're going to have high blood pressure. High blood pressure can cause heart disease. If you avoid the salt, you'll be fine. The narrative was simple and easy. But remember this, white table salt is not actual real salt. It is sodium chloride at 100%, synthetically produced and stripped of all of its natural trace minerals. It often has various other things inside of it, like anti-caking agents. When you consume white table salt in high amounts, especially when it's conjuncted with sugar and processed carbohydrates and grains, it can lead to electrolytic imbalance. Blood pressure is not alone controlled, though, by sodium. Blood pressure is influenced by potassium and magnesium and insulin and your adrenal function and the amount of inflammation in your body. So it's too simplistic to say that all salt should be removed because salt causes high blood pressure. Your blood pressure is an adaptive reflection to the amount of inflammation going on in your body. So it's going to sound crazy, but if you fell into the lie of low fat, no red meats, no salt, your body becomes more inflamed and irritated, and your blood pressure rises to compensate for the issues and the sickness and the inflammation found in your body. Here's the caveat. Natural mineral salts, Himalayan, Celtic, even unrefined sea salts. These salts contain an exorbitant amount of minerals and electrolytes that have been proven to enhance cardiovascular function and actually induce vascular relaxation. Magnesium salt, potassium salt, lithium salt. This is what you find in the pink iron-based salts. The pink and the red Himalayan salts are that color because they contain around 80 different minerals. White table salt, sodium chloride only. Pink Himalayan salt, Redmond's real salt, they contain other versions. We have magnesium chloride, potassium chloride, iron chloride. All of those minerals are actually used in your body, and it's processing in a state where these minerals can induce function of relaxation, electrolytic balance. Again, magnesium and potassium play massive roles in calming down your nervous system, helping you to get out of sympathetic states like most of us, in high cortisolic, high sympathetic tone. And they support healthy blood vessel function. We need minerals to induce nitric oxide to help open the vascularization. We need minerals for the mitochondria to burn fat and turn it into energy. Interestingly enough, research has shown that excessively low sodium intake, meaning you avoid salts, can actually increase cardiovascular risk in certain populations. So you can actually push yourself into a challenge if you have not enough salt. And if you use white table salt, sodium chloride, yes, that can push you into a state of having too much sodium, but it doesn't mean you should avoid salt in its entirety. We, biblically, are claimed to be the salt of the earth. And we need salt to generate electricity in the human body. You can't live without healthy salts. When real salt is used with real food, it supports inherent fluid retention, natural hydration of the human body. Real salts, the mineral salts I'm talking about, they enhance neurological function. It helps your brain to actually send signals down the spinal cord over the nerve roots to make your body work. Real salts, when combined with real fats and real foods, bring healing to the human body. So here's the truth that shocks most people. Cardiovascular disease is within your grip. You have control over the amount of inflammation in your body. Butter doesn't cause heart disease if it's grass-fed. Red meat doesn't cause heart disease if it's grass-finished. Salt doesn't cause heart disease if it's healthy mineral-based salts. You know what does? Industrialization of our food system is what causes heart disease. Lack of good information causes heart disease. following the mantra of corn-fed inflammatory processed meats with synthetic salts, everything you find in the food industry and the marketplace creates metabolic dysfunction, inflammation, and that right there is the real crisis. So if we were to look at what causes heart disease from its foundation, inflammation of the human body. When the cardiovascular system becomes inflamed, the vessels within the heart leak slightly. And your body is not stupid. It has an innate intelligence to repair and heal that. Calcium shows up first to act as like a lattice or an anchor to strengthen the tissues so they don't keep falling apart. Cholesterol comes around as a healing component. It brings antioxidants and nutrients. LDLs don't just carry cholesterol, they carry vitamin E and anti-inflammatory agents. So as the inflammation is addressed by the cholesterol, the calcium brings it to the area, and over time, that should just seal, heal, and dissipate as HDLs come around to remove the LDL cholesterol. What happens for a lot of you is you're chronically inflamed. So that system is always being ignited. And if we follow the standard American Heart Association healthy recommendations, right? They say to, eat grains. They say to have milk and all this stuff that's corn-fed and avoid salts and stay away from your steaks and your red meats. Your heart doesn't fear real food. Your body knows what to do with real ingredients. What your heart fears is inflammation and neurological disconnection. If there's subluxation present in your spine between how your brain talks to your heart, that is root cause number one. If there is leaky gut and inflammation within your digestive system causing an inflammatory cascade, cause number two. If there's toxicity, heavy metals, pesticides, all the gunk that we hang on to in our body, cause number three, because that irritates inflammation. So if you're looking for a way out, you can begin a healing process and stop the fear and the concern. Download the Heart Disease Heal Thyself ebook. The steps you need right now to implement are in here. Join me next Saturday, February 7th, 10 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to take you step by step through the testing that you can request that shows if you're stuck in an inflammatory state and what you can do right now to take yourself out of that and let your heart heal. Palpitations, arrhythmias, blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides, all of that can reset when you become your own doctor. This is the Ask Dr. Ernst show, reminding you healing begins when fear ends and when education enters. When you become your own doctor and you take charge of your health, you have more power in you than those pills and those potions and those lotions and creams. And again, remember, there's data out there for you guys. Great book. You should read it. The Big Fat Surprise. Nina Teicholz. Why butter, fat, meats belong in a healthy diet. And hopefully this inspired you today to go out and get some grass-fed butter and a grass-fed steak, salt it, cook it, sear it, and eat a really good cardiovascular meal for your heart health today. I'll see you guys next Saturday. Yes, it is Heart Disease Heal Thyself on Saturday at 10 a.m. in the morning. Register now. There's still some spaces available, but it's going to fill up quick. Join the nearly 2,000 people that are looking to fix their heart health the right way with functional medicine. And I'll see you guys next Saturday. Be blessed. Until then, bye-bye.